Christian. It's so great to be with you in chapel. Get up on your feet with me this morning. Are you glad to be here? Yes? Awesome. All right. Today, we're doing a new song, and we expect you to move and dance with us. And here's the deal. Teachers, middle school included, in the middle of this song, there's a lovely air guitar solo. And so we are all going to rock out with our best air guitar solo. And Mr. T, I would like for you to watch for the best teacher with the air guitar solo, because they are going to get a coffee. Mr. T is going to bring it to you. Your coffee order, teachers. Best air guitar solo. Mr. T is the judge. Teachers, you must also watch your class, because whoever has the best air guitar solo in your class gets an Eagle Buck from you when you go back. So we are watching for the very best air guitar solos. Are you guys ready to worship this morning? All right, let's do this. Mr. T, I got to know who the teacher winner was.
Okay, but I don't know if you saw Mrs. Winesett rocking out. Mrs. Winesett takes the cake today. So, coffee on me. Way to go, Mrs. Winesett. It was a close second with a few others here. Hey, real quick, guys, just want to introduce something. Every week, more and more, as we go through culture, right, our world likes to tell us what we should think, what we should do, and it's easy for us to get the message confused. And there's a practice that the church has done for really hundreds, if not thousands of years now, where the question is asked about who God is. And the people would respond knowing who God is. They would respond biblically with an answer. The fancy word for that, if you really want to know, is called a catechism. And I wanted to just bring into us every week just a nugget for us to stop and think about and to ask the question and to respond with God's truth. So this week, here's the question. Oh, and I just closed it. Whoops. The question is this: what is our only hope in life and death? And I want you to think about this for a second. What is our only hope? Why do we get up in the morning? What is our hope as Christians? Here's what the word says. We are not our own. Our hope is that we are not our own, but we belong, body and soul, in life and death, to God and to our Savior, Jesus Christ. So I want you guys just to remember that today. What is our hope? Our hope is that we are not our own, but that we get to be with heaven. We get to be with God in heaven someday soon, right? Hold on to that today. We're going to go continue to worship, correct? All right, let me turn it back over.
Good morning, you guys. Why don't you go ahead and stand up and let's worship together. Walking around these walls, I thought by now they'd fall, but you have never failed me yet. Waiting for change to come, knowing the battle's won. For you have never failed me yet. Your promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You never fail me yet. I know the night won't last. Your word will come to pass. My heart will sing your praise again, Jesus. Jesus, you're still enough. Keep me within your love. My heart will sing your praise again. Your promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, your faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You never fail. Your promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You never fail me yet. I've seen you move. You move the mountains, and I believe I see you do it again. You made a way when there was no way, and I believe I see you do it again. I've seen you move. You move the mountains, and I believe I see you do it again. You made a way when there was no way, and I believe I see you do it again. I've seen you move. You move the mountains, and I believe I see you do it again. You made a way when there was no way, and I believe I see you do it again. I see you do it again.
Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord.
Your promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You never fail me yet. And you never fail me yet. And I never will forget how you never fail me yet. You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you, I worship you. Sing it. 'Cause you are way maker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are here, touching every heart. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, healing every heart. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, turning lives around. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, mending every heart. I worship you, oh, I worship you. 'Cause you are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. 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 You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working.
Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working.
You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. Oh, you're a waymaker, waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. 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 That is who you are.
That is who you are.
That is who you are. That is who you are. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. 'Cause you are waymaker. My God, that is who you are. God, we lift that up to you this morning. We sing those truths. God, you're a way maker. God, we know that you alone can save. God, we thank you for sending your son down to die for us, to die in our place, so that we may have hope, a hope that is only found in you. God, you keep your promises. God, we thank you for the love that you so graciously gave us. I pray that we can extend that love and grace to those around us. God, we again thank you for this time of worship where we get to come together and to sing praises to you. We love you and we thank you. In Jesus' name, all God's people said, amen. Can be seated.
Good morning, Southeast. How are you guys? Good? That was kind of weak. How are you? There we go. There we go. That's what I like to hear. All right, I have a super important question for you guys. How many of you guys like movies? Really? Everybody likes movies? Okay, on the count of three, I just want you to yell out your favorite movie. 1, 2, 3. All right, I think I heard at least 2 Spider-Mans, so that's pretty good. I like Spider-Man. Spider-Man's a good movie. My personal favorite movie is The River Runs Through It. I bet none of you have seen it. Maybe some of you adults have seen it, yeah? It's super good. So, here's another question. Why do we love movies? Why do we love movies? Well, you know what? I bet there's a million different answers, but this is what I would say. I think we love movies because movies tell great stories, right? How many of you guys like reading books? Just raise your hand. Yeah? Not everybody. Hopefully a lot of you. Reading books are good too. Watching movies are great, and I think the reason why is because they tell good stories, and we love good stories. There's something about a story that takes you on a journey from one place to another. It makes you feel things, it makes you think things, it makes you ask questions, and we love stories. That's what makes us want to watch TV. That's what makes us want to watch movies. That's what makes us want to do all these different things. And so today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix it up a little bit, okay? Instead of doing a normal message like we typically do in chapel, typically we have a message where we preach something sort of like a sermon, right? What I'm going to do instead is I'm just going to read you guys a good story, okay? I'm going to read you a good story, and I'll just give you a little bit of a background real quick, okay? So in this story, okay, it's called Only the Beginning. Only the Beginning. And so a little bit about the setting of this story is I want you to picture yourself, I want you to picture it's the end of everything and we're all standing before God, okay? We're all standing before God, and this isn't a real story. It's just some guy's imagination of what might happen, but I think, you know, even though it's not necessarily a true story, there's a lot of truth in it. Does that make sense? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to open up, I'm going to start reading this story. And I just want you guys to sit back. I want you to listen, imagine this with me, and we're just going to enjoy this, okay? All right. I remembered everything. We met him in the air, as it had been written. At the time, it seemed impossible that such prophecy could be fulfilled so exactly. But when it happened, everything became clear in an instant. It was as it had been written all along. Nothing had been left to chance or misinterpretation. Now we were to stand before him. This moment, this day, had always seemed so distant, so far away. But now here I was, all of us gathered together, white robes like light, faces beautiful and young, everyone delighted, ebullient, secure. But I was afraid. What would he say to me? What could he say to me? All of my life, I'd known the words, he will repay everyone according to what they do. We must all stand before the judgment seat. He will recompense us for our deeds in the body according to what we have done, whether good or bad. I'd always thought, what does it matter what I'd thought? This was reality. This was the real thing. There was no hiding now, no going back, no changes to make. I knew very well what would happen. Or should I say, could happen. That passage in Corinthians, he shall escape as through fire. That was me, right? I might as well not try to hide it. Everything would be burned up. Nothing left worthy of reward. After all, what was a salesman? I was a salesman. What is the machinery industry? What was being a husband and a father? Anybody can do those things. But deep down, I wished I'd done something grand, like those early fathers, those golden-throated people, the great pastors, the disciples of Jesus, these amazing monks, these people that had done amazing things in history for the kingdom of God. Next to them, who was I? I try not to feel sorry for myself. In fact, I couldn't. All I could feel was a vague sense of regret. At one time, I had sensed a call, at least I'd thought, but circumstances had prevented it. Now, I couldn't even use that excuse. Things had just never worked out the way I'd hoped. I had been afraid mainly, and young, and then middle-aged, and then old, and then too late. I tried to do things, but I hadn't been good at them. Teaching at church, what was that? None of my students went on to be great pastors or teachers, at least none that I knew. Serving as an elder in the church, serving in the church in general, I had been asked to do a lot of different things, but I'd never really felt qualified. Who was I? I was just a salesman. I knew I did things I didn't like. I always confessed them and tried to make them right, but it never endeared me to be a great servant. Please understand, I'm not trying to make you feel sorry for me. I just didn't see what I'd amounted to. I did decent work. I tried to be honest. When I lied, I always tried to make it right. I sold a good product. I did my job well. I advanced in my company. I gave people a fair chance. But who didn't try to do that? I had little to do with being a Christian. I suppose in a way I'd done just enough to make sure nothing came back to me. You know, in my work, things always had a way of hitting you over the head a year or two down the road if you didn't do it right. If you weren't straight with people, that's what happened. But there had been lots of men who had had nothing to do with Jesus, who had done the same thing, so what did that merit? I hadn't been anything but a very average guy. Man, I hated saying it. It sounded so stupid. Pretty average guy? Maybe less than average is a better description. But here it was now, the judgment day, everything accounted for, standing before him. What was I supposed to say? Hey, I can't wait till you make me your right-hand man, Lord. I didn't even lead many people to Christ. I couldn't count on my left hand the number of people that I knew who had actually stuck with him. And that bothered me a lot. I had passed out things at times to help people. I told people what I believed. I witnessed as we had been told to do. But I never saw much fruit. Nothing really ever came of it. Certainly not the 30-fold, 60-fold, or 100-fold that Jesus talked about. I could remember one, maybe two people, but I'd lost touch with them. I didn't even know where they ended up. I was beginning to feel worse and worse. Even with a new sense of perfection and a new body, I felt a little sick. What was he going to say? Glad to have you here, John. Have a good eternity. How much could he sugarcoat a below-average life? Well, maybe it hadn't been below average. Was that mock humility? I mean, I had a good life, a decent life. I had enjoyed it. I liked things like church and worship and visiting people and trying to teach good things. I'd even liked reading the Bible and praying every now and again. I wasn't super holy, but I did have something of a spiritual walk, as we called it. In a way, though, I almost wished he would simply pass over me, like when the whole team wins a trophy, but no one was singled out for special mention. You know what I'm talking about? But all I really was hoping for was no reprimands, no angry exposures, no punishment. But everyone would have a chance to stand up here. Each one of us would stand before God. It was almost funny. Remember how we used to try to say something nice about someone? I remember my dad telling us kids, if you don't have something good to say, don't say it. If you don't have something good to say, don't say it. A lot of times, though, you'd exaggerate or make up something to make a friend feel good, even though you knew it was only half true, right? We've all done that. But I knew he wouldn't do that. I knew God wouldn't do that. He was holy. He was perfect. He was just. He couldn't make things up about me or anything else to make me feel good. Doing that always had a negative kickback anyway. Sooner or later, you realized it was all just flattery, and you lost respect for the person who did it. I knew one thing. God would not make me lose respect for him. What would he come up with? Frankly, I couldn't think of a thing. I had never got my name in the paper except once in Little League Baseball. I had never wrote a book or sang a solo or preached a great sermon or even discipled someone who went on to serve the Lord in a great way. The people I had discipled, well, they didn't do much better than me. They just lived, as far as I could tell, quiet, decent lives with a few or no big problems. Anyways, what was the point of flattering myself? I just have to take what came up to me. Chin up, as my mom always said. She was there too, you know. I honestly hadn't thought she would be, but I was overjoyed. All those years of talking to her about Jesus, and all along, my mom had believed, not quite like me, but she believed. And that satisfied him. Dad, too, and my sister and brother and members of their families. I had never thought it could be true. I had always been caught up in a certain rather narrow way of thinking. But they had all believed. They hadn't had those kind of lightning bolt, born-again experiences like I had had, but they had faith. They always did. My 3 kids were there too. And my wife, oh goodness, I don't know what I would do if she hadn't made it. I had been confident they would, of course, because I knew they believed, but there were always doubts. And I was there. Even if he couldn't honestly say, well done, I was still there. I was a part of his kingdom forever. My loved ones were there, most of them, and it would never end. There would be plenty of rejoicing in that. Plenty of rejoicing in that. And then it began. God called us by name, and each one came forward one by one. It was astonishing. I wasn't bored or tired for a moment. He stood each one of us before the rest. We could see right into that person. Their heart was revealed before us. We saw all that they had done. We went right on through the ages from the beginning of time. In this place, there was no sense of time. You could concentrate completely on what was happening around you without forgetting what had gone before or what was coming after. I'm sure it all took several years in Earth time, although there was no way to tell, but it didn't matter anymore. And I was looking forward to the twins. I was able to tell them as they went up how reading things from their writings had influenced me. I remarked on things I had read from Luther and so many other amazing pastors. It was marvelous thanking and praising those people in person. All of them were rewarded. He himself spoke so many well dones, so many accolades. I almost wished I had been some of those people. They'd done so much, but I would be content. I knew with whatever happened to me, even if it were a little. There were a very few who seemed to escape and just barely get through. But even in their cases, it was still great. It choked me up to think of it because I knew I might be one of them. So I didn't want to sound hard or disappointed when it happened to me. I just wished, but I had to stop saying that to myself. Whatever happened to me, happened. It was a strange feeling. On the one hand, I longed that everyone be rewarded well. Yet, when it came to myself, I had no idea what God might say. The suspense was almost murderous. Each time before he spoke, he gave the whole group a chance to tell and bear witness to what that person on the judgment seat had done. It was amazing the things that were said, words, kindnesses, good deeds, thanks, praise. Everything was remembered, everything. For some of them, such as Paul and Peter, the talk went on and on and on until he himself pronounced a judgment and gave them their reward. Yet many received rewards similar to both Paul and Peter's. I almost began to hope that he might find something good about me. He took us each by order of birth and gave everyone a chance to speak, everybody in history. Then he opened the book, their books, the one on each of their lives, and he passed it through the fire, and whatever gold, silver, or precious jewels were upon it, he gave to that subject as part of his or her reward. There were all sorts of crowns, so many amazing things to see. Each one was individual and complete. At the end, everyone agreed that their judgment was perfect. Frankly, I never wanted it to end. Everyone was so excited and happy. You just wanted the person that was up there to do well and to receive a just reward. You were rooting for everybody. When he did pronounce his judgment, you knew it was exact, and you took everything in it. I trusted him. I knew he'd bring it out all right. It was a blur, yet everyone's deeds and face were imprinted on my mind. When I met them personally later, I remembered everything that had been commended to them. Then came to the year of my birth, 1975. It would be my turn soon. What would he say? What could he say? I was practically jumping in place. I felt like a school kid waiting for his report card, not sure whether he'd get an F or an A or something in between. Why was I so unsure? And then he spoke my name. I wove my way through the crowd to God. He motioned to me to sit before him. I was so scared. Like light, there was a warmth about him, though. A kindness. It filled me and made me confident. Love. That's what it was. He loved me. I could feel his love holding me and strengthening me. He asked the crowd if anyone wanted to speak. My son stepped forward first. There are so many things, Lord. Tell them all, he said. And then my son began. I remember that he used to play with me. Piggyback rides, singing songs in the car, fun. He made my life fun, and he told me about you. He recounted all sorts of deeds. I was amazed and grateful. These were the things that my son remembered. My wife said she had always loved the way I held her, even when I was tired and wanted to go to sleep. She spoke how I gave her money to buy groceries and clothing with a smile and no resentment. She seemed to go on and on. A lump formed in my throat, and I fought to control my tears. Her face shone like the sun. I was so thankful God gave her to me. There were others who told of my teaching to them in church, a Bible story here and there that had stuck with someone later in life. One boy said, he one time told me the story of Zacchaeus giving his money to the poor. Later in my life, that motivated me to be generous. Really generous. My mouth dropped open. He remembered that? I didn't even remember that. Johnny Martin, a little kid. I taught him to throw a ball. Bill, a fellow coworker of mine, I'd been patient training him, and he'd come to know Christ years later because of our relationship. A lady named Doris, my strong singing in church one time, had encouraged her to worship God a lot more. A lady named Grace had broken down on the road with a flat tire, and I had fixed it. I hadn't even known at the time, but she was struggling. I had encouraged her by what I did, sort of. But she was bitter at the time about a lot of things that were going on in her life. But she remembered what I did. She said my words reminded her that God loved her. There was a boy, now a man, from my Little League team. His name was Casey, who said I encouraged him and given him a Bible verse to memorize and remember over the years. Even though he wasn't a believer at the time, it'd come into his mind many years later, and it changed his life. The time I prayed for a friend during a funeral. The time I turned off a leaky faucet in the company bathroom because I thought the Lord would be pleased. The time I talked in church about the need to give sacrificially. I'd forgotten all these things. They seemed so insignificant, but he had said that anything done in his name would last forever, and it did. It seemed that it would never stop. Every impression, every word, there were thousands of them.